Hailing back from the days of Meta-Rock Duel, it is the Cerulean Twin of the close fighting Neo pair. It is UGO00 Nio-Heiko, with the kit of Guard Boost, Double Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Endurance, which passively fills his Metaforce gauge for every turn upon being attacked. Now, compared to Nio-Heiko, who is a very aggressively oriented and offense-oriented type model, it seems very obvious right from start that Nio-Heiko, on the other hand, is much more defense-oriented and cautious in nature, which both of which can actually be put to very good use on the field if in the right hands. Guard Boost is a support-based skill that, once activated, will boost the melee and shoot resist stats of himself and all allies by about 50%. That means that once that skill is activated, all allies and himself will be taking very considerably less damage as long as that effect stays active, making it a very good skill that, even compared to most other support skills, such as, say, a radar sight or shoot boost or fight boost, can be put to good use very easily, even if just for that extra resistance. Hammer on both arms are conventional melee skills that you generally can't ever go wrong with using either, but they are also worth noting to be full AoEs, meaning that upon attacking a target, it will spread the damage equally across all active parts. That means a healthy or undamaged target will be seeing a quarter damage to all 4 parts. An injured or nearly dead enemy may perhaps see 2 or half or thirds spread across whatever's remaining. The only time this really does not happen is if the enemy is using Conceal on the enemy's side, which will negate pierce damage or AoE damage. In this instance, or if in the instance they are using a shield to intercept your blow, all damage will then be rediverted to the one part tanking the blow instead. Biped Legs also means that Nio-Heiko will have very solid coverage across all terrains, as arguably one of the best rounded legs in terms of terrain compatibility. And compared to Nio-Heiko, who has auto charge, which is kind of strange on a conventional melee fighter like him, Endurance makes more sense on a close range fighter, as upon being attacked, his Metaforce gauge will go up, as if he can hold out long enough to survive, he could punish everyone with a Metaforce nuke or even a parting gift of a buff if he does end up going down. His armor department is actually notably higher and more tankier than Nio-Heiko as well. As expected, Nio-Heiko, on the other hand, will be more defense-oriented. With a head HP of 3249, arms about 3700 each, and his legs at 3200, he is very noticeably more defensive and better armored than his Crimson Twin. Base damage also isn't too shabby either on either hammer arm at about 1450 or 1600 depending on which arm you use, and his leg stats aren't too shabby either, kind of what you'd expect compared to what it was with Nio-Heiko as well. With a mobility of 691, again not too shabby, but kind of cusping that lower end expectation of where you really should be, and at that point you're going to be relying more on your Meta-Rotter bonuses and your power-up chips to really emphasize your speed. An evade of 854 isn't too shabby, but with a leg ability like Endurance, you really don't want to focus too heavily on dodging or grazing and actually take the hit, which can be a blessing and a curse as long as you can control it. A melee resist of 1316 is very good though, as it does mean that he can most certainly hold his own up close and personal and keep that damage as low as possible. But a shoot resist of 760 is a pretty noticeable weakness for him, as it does mean that he will be taking considerably more damage from incoming shooting skills. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I still do have to rate Nio-Heiko a pretty solid 5 out of 10. Even though his kit of a double AoE skill is kind of niche and tough to use conventionally, Guard Boost and Endurance actually work very well together, as even if he has relatively nominal defense stats, which his shoot resist is, once Guard Boost goes into effect, he will be able to stick on the field longer, which means the more hits he can take, which means the more Metaforce he gets charging back. As mixed parts though, I have to rate him relatively equally as well at about a 5 out of 10, given that even though he may not be as aggressively oriented as Nio-Heiko might be, Heiko is still a very solid model if you're in need of emphasizing defense or sturdiness over offense, and in many cases, that might also be the better chance at victory, as it is often said, defense is most certainly and many times the greatest offense.